All right. So, I get all kinds of questions. People act. Sometimes I say the clearest thing possible from my point of view, and people are like, "That was weird. What did he say?" And then other times people are like, "Why do you keep explaining something so simple?" Because see, for some of us that know that everything comes from perception, like even a unicorn, the idea of a unicorn, it came from perceiving horns and horses and things, and we taped it all together. It's like, why would I keep trying to? And then this issue comes up of why do I try to convince you of the things I believe? But this is where you guys seem to make mistakes, even if you don't have to make a mistake, right? Because if you know how to teach yourself things, then you don't have to make this mistake I'm talking about, but people will anyway. But so those of you that know how to teach yourself things, think about what I'm talking about. I am not trying to convince you of something. I'm trying to explain something that I've taught myself, with the idea that, hey, maybe it's true, and here it is. I'll give you enough information to teach it to yourself or to reject it. It's a totally different way of framing your own attitude to what you are telling other people. And to a certain degree, you could say it's ineffectual, right? It's not a heavy manipulative thing. People will tend to say and believe that they've understood you if you use vague words, because then there's a lot of interpretations. And then when they're hearing your words, they're able to find an interpretation. And then they believe that interpretation and they think they've understood you. So there's a question as to whether that apparent feeling of understanding is more effective or less effective than communication between autodidacts. Now, if you are trying to get people to do something like send you $1, then probably the illusion of being understood is definitely better. On the other hand, if you're really trying to convey information, then it seems clear to me that it's at least quite likely that just presenting information for someone to teach themselves or not is the better of the two. Now, the thing about presenting information that someone can teach themselves or not, right, is you set out a bunch of clues of information and people are supposed to be able to relate that, right? And people are accustomed, they're conditioned to expect you to try to compel and force them into this idea. They don't want to just be told where the drinking hole is. They want to be taken there, and then they want you to try to force them to drink. And maybe they'll resist and drink after. Maybe they'll never drink, and they'll just look and get convinced they could drink. Who knows? But it's just some weird kind of thing where it's like the autodidactic approach is just like, hey, you're talking about water, you're curious, I found some water over there, that's where it is, and you give them a map or whatever. And you're not trying to compel. In fact, there is a reciprocal of people can look, and if they reject it, they have enough information to say, well, here's why I have a different take on that. Maybe it's just my different take because I have a different position, or maybe it's my difference is something we actually hold in common, and you, and me in this case, should take it into account. Okay. We have this conditioning to expect to be forced to do things, and everything, intellectually, work-wise, everywhere. And it's possibly saddest in our communication, where every communication is assumed to be some attempt to dominate. Whereas I feel like that's beneath me. Why would I want to dominate every single person, even strangers on the internet I'm talking to? I'm presenting ideas in such a way that someone that is autodidactic, such as myself, could go, oh, I haven't thought of that. I can look that up and decide for myself. That's an interesting argument. Or, oh, I have thought of that. He's missed these points that I thought of when I went through it. I can make this reaction honest. Instead of just looking for a way to convince people to act in a certain way.